Someone can love you with their whole soul and still choose silence, not because the love is weak, but because the fear inside them is louder than their heart. By the end of this speech, you will understand why distance does not always mean rejection, and why the person staying away may be fighting a battle you cannot see. Have you ever felt someone's energy so strongly, even when they were not speaking to you? That strange pull, that silent connection, that feeling that they are still emotionally present, even while physically distant. It is not always imagination. If this message is speaking to something you have felt but could never explain, stay with it until the end, because the next part may reveal why their silence has been so painful for both of you. Their distance is not always a sign that love has disappeared. Sometimes the person who pulls away is not running from you, but from what you awaken inside them. There are emotions that arrive quietly, but once they enter the heart, they disturb everything that was once controlled. A person may think they are strong, independent, and untouched, until your presence makes them feel something they cannot manage with logic. Suddenly, they are not just attracted to you, they are exposed by you. They begin to sense that loving you would require honesty, vulnerability, courage, and emotional maturity. And when someone is not prepared for that, they may choose distance instead of truth. This is why silence can be confusing. From the outside, it looks cold, it looks careless, it looks like rejection. But inside them, there may be a storm they do not know how to name. They may think about you often, feel your absence deeply, and still convince themselves that staying away is safer. Not because you are unworthy, but because your presence touches parts of them they have hidden for years. You may remind them of love they lost, wounds they never healed, or fears they pretend not to carry. So instead of stepping forward, they step back. Deep love is not always expressed through immediate action. Some people do not know how to hold it without becoming afraid. The more they feel, the more they retreat, because feeling deeply means they can no longer hide behind emotional control. They may fear becoming dependent. They may fear being rejected. They may fear that if they come closer, you will see the broken places they have worked so hard to cover. Their distance, then, is not proof that they feel nothing. It may be proof that they feel too much and do not yet have the strength to face it directly. They may be staying away because love makes them feel as if they are losing control. Some people can handle casual attention, light conversation, and surface-level connection, but the moment real emotion enters, they panic. They are comfortable when they can predict everything. They know how to act when nothing touches them deeply. But when someone enters their life and begins to affect their mood, their thoughts, their choices, and even their silence, they suddenly feel powerless. Love stops being a beautiful idea and becomes a mirror they cannot escape. For a person who has built their identity around emotional control, vulnerability feels dangerous. They may have trained themselves not to need anyone, not to open too much, not to depend, not to confess, not to chase. Then you appear, and without force, without demand, you make them feel again. That can frighten them more than loneliness ever did. Loneliness is painful, but it is familiar. Love is unknown. Love asks them to step outside the walls they built to survive. And not everyone is ready to leave the prison they once called protection. So they pull back, not because you mean little, but because you mean more than they expected. They may act distant to prove to themselves that they are still in control. They may delay replies, hide their emotions, become cold, or pretend they are unaffected. But this behavior often reveals the opposite. A person who feels nothing does not need to fight themselves so hard. The inner battle begins when the heart wants closeness, but the mind fears surrender. Their fear is not always about you. It may come from past betrayal, childhood wounds, failed relationships, or the belief that love always ends in pain. They may think that if they stay distant, they cannot be hurt. But the truth is, distance does not remove love. It only turns it into silence, tension, and longing. They are not avoiding your presence alone. They are avoiding the version of themselves that appears when they love you deeply. You may trigger something hidden in them that they do not know how to face. This is one of the deepest reasons someone can love you and still remain distant. Your presence may not only bring comfort, it may also awaken memories, fears, and wounds they believed were buried. Sometimes a person meets someone who makes them feel seen in a way they are not prepared for. And when someone feels truly seen, they cannot keep pretending to themselves. Your energy may reach places inside them that casual people never touch. This is why they may behave strangely around you. One moment they seem warm, open, and emotionally close. The next moment they withdraw, become silent, or act as if nothing happened. It is not always because they are playing games. Sometimes your closeness activates an old pain. Maybe they once trusted someone and were abandoned. Maybe they opened their heart before and were punished for it. Maybe they learned early in life that love comes with disappointment, rejection, or loss. So when they begin to feel something real for you, their past rises like a warning. You become more than a person to them. You become a mirror. Through you, they see their longing, their fear, their emotional hunger, and the parts of themselves they have avoided. That can feel overwhelming. Instead of saying, "I am scared," they disappear. Instead of admitting, "You matter to me," they protect themselves with silence. Their distance becomes a shield against the old wound you unintentionally touched. But understand this clearly: you are not responsible for healing what they refuse to face. Your presence may reveal the wound, but it did not create it. Love can open a door, but only they can choose to walk through it. If they stay away, it may be because being near you forces them to confront the hidden truth inside themselves, and they are not yet brave enough to meet it. They may stay away because deep inside, they do not feel worthy of the love they want from you. This kind of distance is painful because it does not always come from pride or lack of care. Sometimes it comes from shame. A person can desire you deeply, think about you often, feel emotionally connected to you, and still believe they are not enough to stand beside you. They may look at your heart, your strength, your patience, your light, and instead of feeling inspired, they feel exposed. They begin comparing what you offer with what they believe they can give back, and suddenly love feels like pressure. When someone feels unworthy, they do not always say it directly. They may not tell you, "I am afraid I will disappoint you." Instead, they become distant. They act careless. They delay. They disappear. They pretend they are not affected. But underneath that silence may be the fear that if they come closer, you will eventually discover their weaknesses and leave. So they leave first emotionally. They create distance before you can reject them. It is a defense, but it still hurts. This often happens when a person carries guilt, insecurity, past failure, financial pressure, emotional immaturity, or a hidden sense that they are damaged. They may feel love for you, but they also feel that they cannot match your emotional depth. Your sincerity may make them aware of their own confusion. Your calmness may reveal their instability. Your loyalty may remind them of how unreliable they have been. And rather than growing into the love, they shrink away from it. But you must understand something clearly. You cannot love someone into self-worth if they keep choosing avoidance. You can show kindness, patience, and understanding, but you cannot become the proof they refuse to accept. If they believe they are not enough, they must face that belief within themselves. Otherwise, even your deepest love will feel like a gift they are too afraid to receive. Silence becomes their defense mechanism because speaking the truth would make everything real. Some people can feel deeply, but they cannot explain what they feel without feeling exposed. They may want to tell you that they miss you, that your absence affects them, that they think about what happened, that they are not as detached as they seem. But the moment those words rise inside them, fear steps in. So instead of opening their heart, they close their mouth. Silence becomes the wall they hide behind. This kind of silence is not peaceful, it is heavy. It carries unsaid words, unfinished emotions, and conversations they keep having with you in their mind. They may replay your last interaction, wonder what you are thinking, check on you indirectly, or feel a strange pain when they sense you moving on. But outwardly they remain still. They convince themselves that saying nothing is safer than saying too much, because once they speak honestly, they can no longer pretend they are untouched. For them, silence gives an illusion of control. If they do not confess, they cannot be rejected. If they do not explain, they cannot be misunderstood. If they do not reach out, they do not have to risk hearing that you no longer feel the same. But this protection is also a prison. The more they hide, the more the distance grows. The more the distance grows, the harder it becomes to return without shame. And this is where you must be honest with yourself. Their silence may have a reason, but it is not always a reason you must suffer for. Understanding someone's fear does not mean accepting emotional absence forever. Love needs courage, not just feelings. If they care deeply but choose silence again and again, they are allowing fear to speak louder than love. And you cannot build peace with someone who keeps making you guess what their heart already knows. They are fighting between desire and fear, and this inner conflict is the reason their actions feel so confusing. One part of them wants to come closer. It wants to speak, explain, confess, return, or at least show you that you still matter. But another part of them pulls back. That part remembers pain, rejection, loss, embarrassment, and every moment where opening the heart led to suffering. So they stand in the middle, wanting connection, but fearing the cost of it. This is why their energy may feel inconsistent. They may come near, then disappear. They may show warmth, then suddenly become cold. They may watch you quietly, but refuse to reach out. They may act as if they are fine, while something inside them keeps turning back toward you. To you, it may look like mixed signals. To them, it feels like survival. They are not only deciding whether to choose you, they are deciding whether they are brave enough to choose vulnerability. Desire says, go closer. Fear says, stay safe. Desire remembers your presence. Fear remembers old wounds. Desire wants to risk love. Fear wants to avoid pain. And when fear is stronger than emotional maturity, distance becomes the easiest escape. They may tell themselves they are protecting both of you, but often they are protecting only their own fragile sense of control. Still, you must not romanticize their confusion too much. A confused person can still hurt you. A fearful heart can still leave you waiting, questioning, and emotionally tired. Their inner battle may explain their distance, but it does not excuse endless uncertainty. Love that never becomes action remains trapped inside them, not shared with you. And you deserve more than a person who only loves you in silence. They must eventually decide whether fear will lead their life or whether love will make them honest. Your growth may be the very thing that makes them uncomfortable, because when you stop chasing, stop explaining, stop waiting, and stop lowering yourself for a connection that keeps hurting you, they are forced to feel the shift. Before, they may have believed your presence was guaranteed. They may have thought that no matter how far they pulled away, you would still be there. Still hoping, still reaching, still trying to understand them. But the moment you begin choosing yourself, something changes in the atmosphere between you. This change can disturb them deeply, not because they do not care, but because your growth removes the emotional control they unconsciously had. When you were chasing, they could stay undecided, they could delay, they could hide behind silence and still feel your energy waiting for them. But when you become calm, centered, and less available to their confusion, they begin to see what they were taking for granted. Your absence becomes a mirror. Your peace becomes a message. Your silence becomes stronger than all the words you once tried to give them. Growth has a strange power. It does not beg, it reveals. It shows them that you are no longer willing to lose yourself just to keep a connection alive. And that can make them confront their own avoidance. They may start asking themselves why they waited so long, why they stayed silent, why they let fear decide for them, why they assumed you would always remain emotionally open while they stayed protected. But be careful. Their reaction to your growth is not your responsibility. Do not grow just to make them miss you. Do not become silent just to make them chase. That is still attachment wearing a different mask. Grow because your life deserves your attention. Heal because your peace matters. Choose yourself because love should never require self-abandonment. If they return, let it be because they are ready to meet you with courage, not because they simply fear losing access to you. The distance is teaching you something too, because every painful silence carries a mirror. When someone you care about stays away, the first instinct is to ask why they are doing this, what they feel, what they want, and whether they will return. But the deeper question is not only about them, it is about what their absence is revealing inside you. Why does their silence disturb your peace so much? Why does their uncertainty make you doubt your worth? Why are you tempted to wait for someone who has not yet found the courage to stand clearly in front of you? This does not mean your feelings are wrong. It means your soul is asking you to pay attention. Their distance may be exposing the places where you still confuse love with longing, intensity with truth, and waiting with loyalty. Sometimes we hold on to a person not because they are giving us love, but because they have awakened a hope we are afraid to release. We tell ourselves that if we understand them enough, if we remain patient enough, if we love them softly enough, they will finally become ready. But readiness cannot be forced by your devotion. Their absence may be asking you to return to yourself, to stop making another person's confusion the center of your emotional world, to stop measuring your value by someone else's courage or lack of it, to understand that love should expand you, not shrink you into anxiety. If they are distant because they are afraid, that is their battle. But if you abandon yourself while waiting for them, that becomes yours. So let the distance teach you without destroying you. Let it sharpen your self-respect. Let it show you where you need boundaries, where you need healing, and where you have been asking for clarity from someone who is still unclear within themselves. Sometimes the lesson is not to stop loving them. Sometimes the lesson is to stop losing yourself while they decide what their heart is brave enough to do. And perhaps this is the truth you needed to hear. Someone can love you deeply and still not be ready to stand before you with honesty. Their distance may carry fear, shame, confusion, old wounds, and emotions they do not know how to express. They may think of you in silence, feel your absence in ways they never admit, and still remain away because coming closer would demand courage they have not yet gathered. But love hidden behind fear is still love unfinished. It may be real, but it is not yet mature. You must stop measuring your worth by their ability to show up. Their silence is not proof that you are unlovable. Their avoidance is not proof that you asked for too much. Their fear is not proof that your heart was wrong. Sometimes your presence simply touched a part of them they were not prepared to face. Sometimes your love became a mirror and they could not bear what it revealed. But this is where your own awakening begins. Do not hate them for being afraid, but do not abandon yourself because they are afraid. Do not turn their wounds into your waiting room. Do not make their uncertainty the place where your peace goes to die. You can understand someone with compassion and still choose distance for your own soul. If they are meant to return, let them return with truth, not confusion. Let them come with actions, not only energy. Let them meet you as someone ready to love openly, not someone still hiding behind silence. And if they never come forward, let that also become an answer, because the right love will not only feel you deeply in secret, it will have the courage to honor you in the light. So walk forward gently but firmly. Keep your heart open, but your self-respect stronger. Love them if you must, bless them if you can, but do not lose yourself waiting for someone who has not yet learned how to choose what they feel.